Ahoy there, friends. Well, shiver me timbers. I can't believe we haven't yet spoken about pirates. Come and learn some pirate vocabulary with us, me hearties. In this episode of
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig, me hearties.
Hi, I'm Reza.
And my name's Craig.
And with 50 years of... oh no, stop the accent. Back to normal, sorry. With 50 years of teaching between us, we'll help you improve your English and take it to the next level. How are things, Craig?
Things are very well, my friend, my hearty. We're speaking about pirates vocabulary this week, and I can't believe it's been so long and we haven't spoken about pirate language, pirate accents, pirate films and vocabulary. I like pirates.
Me too. As a kid growing up, I always loved pirate stories. Treasure Island, what a great book, wasn't it?
Robert Louis Stevenson, yeah, fantastic book. And the pirate in that book, if I remember, was Long John Silver.
Long John Silver, that's right.
Long John Silver. Now, we have spoken in a previous podcast about English expressions from the sea. So if you enjoy the sea and sailing and boats and ships, go to inglespodcast.com/150, and you can listen to some idioms and expressions connected to the sea. But today we're speaking specifically about vocabulary and expressions connected to piracy.
Forgive the accent, the terrible accent in my introduction, but that is the stereotypical accent which we identify with pirates. I was trying to speak like we think pirates spoke, although they probably didn't really speak like that. But in Hollywood films and series, we've decided that the southwest of England, kind of Devon and Cornwall, that's the accent for pirates. Because I guess a lot of pirates did come from there. Bristol is a famous port city, and a lot of smuggling used to go on there, a lot of contraband. So we identify pirates a lot with that area. So we've decided in stereotyping pirates to give them that accent. That's what they get in all British films.
Aye. Now, if you hear the word I, that means yes. A-Y-E. I would be a pirate way of saying yes. And it's the same pronunciation as the pronoun I. I walk, I sleep, I speak. And also the I you see with, E-Y-E. So exactly the same pronunciation. I means yes.
And maybe even better still, if you say it twice, followed by aye, aye, Captain. Yeah?
Yep.
For some reason, twice, aye, aye, Captain. That's very pirate, isn't it?
It is very pirate-like. Now, before we speak specifically about pirates in the meaning that we are giving the verb to pirate and a pirate, we should mention that you can also pirate music and pirate video. That's a very common collocation. To pirate content on the internet is to copy it or steal it illegally. Are you for or against internet piracy?
Well, obviously, I am against people doing anything illegal. But if it's legal to copy and download something, go for it. If it's legal, yeah.
Yep, I agree. But sometimes it's so difficult. Companies make it difficult to obtain or use certain software or music or films. So when it's really, really difficult, then, I might turn a blind eye to it. Now, to turn a blind eye to something is to ignore it. You know it exists, but you decide not to pay attention. To turn a blind eye to internet piracy.
And Craig, what do you do when you have a class in person, face-to-face, not online, and a student attends with not exactly a book, but a photocopy of a book, all the pages there. Has it happened to you?
It's happened many times. And if you go to Facebook groups, you often see lots of students asking where they can pirate English materials and English books. And yeah, I don't agree with that, because I think when people create things like music and books and educational material, then you should pay for it and you should compensate the creator for actually making it. So it's just when sometimes like it's really, really difficult to buy a CD of something and it's almost impossible, then in those circumstances, then, or it's overpriced, ridiculously overpriced, then I turn a blind eye to it. Ship ahoy or land ahoy is something you might hear a pirate scream or shout from the deck or the top of the ship. Ship ahoy, what does that mean?
Well, this word ahoy means like ahead. I can see it ahead, so it's nearby. The lookout, that's the person who's looking out for things, is up high. And if they see a ship, they'll say ship ahoy. Or if they've been in the middle of the sea for a long time and suddenly they see land, they will shout land ahoy.
Have you ever tasted those chocolate chip cookies called Chips Ahoy?
Yes, I have.
What do you think?
I don't like them at all.
Me neither. Me neither. You're not seeing many chips in the distance when you buy a packet of Chips Ahoy.
Exactly. They make me think of a kind of pirated version of a proper chocolate chip cookie.
Blimey.
Oh, blimey, you said. What do you mean by blimey?
Blimey is an expression that's very common in British English, and I had forgotten that it actually is a shortened, or we could say corrupted version, a shortened and changed version of God blind me. God blind me, blimey. It's an expression of shock or surprise that's very common in British English. If I say that I bought a packet of Chips Ahoy cookies and I paid €6 for them, Reza might say,
Blimey.
Expensive.
And it's a word which we identify a lot with pirates. I don't know why, but we just do, don't we?
Yeah. Something a pirate might say. Blimey, matey. Matey, you might recognise in the word matey the word mate, which is colloquial British English for friend. And matey could be used to refer to a friend of a pirate or a crew member. A crew is the team of sailors or pirates on a ship, and crew work together so that a ship or even an aeroplane functions correctly. So you have flight crew on an aeroplane or ship's crew on a boat, and matey will be a way to refer to ship's mate or ship's crew.
Yes, because all the crew of the ship, they're shipmates. We got the word shipmates, so all the people who are in the crew are shipmates. But pirates prefer to just say matey.
Now, what's a landlubber? Landlubber. That reminds me of a landlover. Is that where it comes from? Landlubber with double B?
That's where it comes from. So someone who loves the land, but the word loves got changed to lub. A landlubber loves the land. In other words, a landlubber doesn't know anything about the sea. So a pirate will call someone who doesn't know about sailing a landlubber, in a pejorative sense, like, what do you know about the sea, you landlubber? You don't know anything.
You may have seen the Tom Hanks film Castaway, in which there's a shipwreck. The ship sinks and goes under the sea, and Tom Hanks is marooned on a desert island. He's left alone on a desert island, and he has to find food. He has nothing to drink. There's nothing with him except a ball called Wilson, and he's on a very remote desert island. So if you are marooned, then you are on your own in a distant place with no one around to help you.
You could be lucky, though, on that desert island. You never know. You might find buried treasure. It was traditional for pirates to find a remote desert island, and they would hide the things they'd stolen there. So they put the treasure under the ground. The treasure is valuable things. Could be money, could be coins, could be jewelry. And there would be a treasure map, and X marks the spot. They put an X on this secret map, and that's where the buried treasure was.
Speaking of spots, S-B-O-T, have you heard the expression a black spot?
Yes.
If someone's going to kill you or you're going to die, you get a black spot. Is that right?
That's right. Black spot after your name. It comes from pirates, I think.
It does, yeah. That's why I bring it up. That's why I mention it.
What was it? They had a list and the one who had the black spot was the one who was going to be killed?
Something like that. Or maybe they give a piece of paper with a black spot on it and that's the sign that they're going to be killed. Speaking of buried treasure, every month in the Mansion Inglés newsletter, there is a reading comprehension, and I'm adapting the Tom Sawyer book written by Mark Twain, in which he often goes looking for buried treasure with his friend Huckleberry Finn, and they like to play, they like to imagine they're pirates, and they dig for buried treasure. It's very funny and very entertaining. So if you want to practice your reading, and also some reading comprehension questions, go to mansioningles.com, sign up for the newsletter, and you'll receive that every month. Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain.
Now, as you can imagine, being a pirate at sea for a long time, you're going to get bored, not much to do. So, one of the things you really look forward to is your grog. G-R-O-G. Your grog. In other words, your rum. Well, it could be any alcohol, but rum, R-U-M, that's the traditional drink we associate with pirates. So when they talk about their grog, it's their rum. That's where we get the word groggy, which also exists in Spanish. If you feel groggy, you feel slow. You're not quite operating at your normal speed. You're a bit sleepy because you've drunk grog, perhaps.
When I hear the word grog, I imagine very rough, very bad alcohol. Like it's really, really strong and maybe not very pleasant.
Yes, exactly the kind of stuff pirates used to drink.
Yeah. Why me hearty? Pirates often fight and they may lose an eye in the fight. So the common depiction of some pirates is with an eye patch. P-A-T-C-H. A black patch over their eye, because they've lost an eye and they can't see out of it. So that's a common image of a pirate with an eye patch.
Now, pirates fight for many reasons, but the number one reason is money. Pirates like stealing things, treasure. The more money they can get their hands on, it doesn't matter where it comes from, the happier the pirate will be. So one of the types of coin, that's moneda, yeah, money, coin, pirates used to often look for were pieces of 8. Pieces of 8. That's a Spanish coin, because remember, of course, when we think of pirates, the golden age of pirates, we're thinking above all of the 16th, 17th, 18th century. Although there are still pirates today, it's true, but that's the golden age. So we're thinking about perhaps British pirates, for example, forever attacking and stealing things from the Spanish. Sorry about that. I hope you've forgiven us. It was a long time ago. But above all, they picked on the Spanish as their victims. So these pieces of it...
To pick on?
To pick on is to make someone your victim. So the Spanish, they were the biggest empire at that time, and they were obviously sailing between Spain and the Americas a lot. So quite often they stole things from the Spanish, and they might have stolen pieces of 8. That's a Spanish coin, and they called it pieces of 8 because it was worth 8 reales, which was the currency at the time in Spain. Or they might have stolen another type of coin called doubloons. It actually comes from the Spanish word doblón, but the pirates in English changed it to doubloons, and that's a coin which is worth 2 escudos. So thus the word doblón, like double, yeah? Not 1 but 2 escudos, or 32 reales, so a lot more valuable even than a piece of 8.
Another word you may come across in the world of pirates is privateer. Privateer. Now that's a sailor working on a private ship. So that's what the private part of privateer is. But they have government permission to attack foreign vessels. And this happened very often. A foreign vessel is a foreign ship, so they had permission to attack foreign vessels, and that's what a privateer is. Kind of like a mercenary, but with permission from the government.
Yes, earlier, Craig, you mentioned turning a blind eye to digital piracy. Effectively, the British government turned a blind eye to the pirates who attacked Spanish ships and other countries, but above all Spanish ships in the Atlantic. They turned a blind eye to them. They had permission to do it.
It wasn't because they had an eye patch.
No.
They turned a blind eye.
Turn a blind eye is to look the other way, like you don't know it's happened. So they had permission to attack official Spanish government or Spanish-owned ships and steal things, I suppose with the understanding that some of it would end up in the hands of the British government.
One expression I really liked while researching this episode of pirate vocabulary, was the expression, the son of a biscuit eater, which apparently is an insult said by one pirate to another pirate. And because I love biscuits, especially chocolate biscuits, I thought that was quite funny. You son of a biscuit eater. That doesn't really sound like a strong insult to me, but apparently that's what a pirate might say.
Another common expression you'll hear in the world of pirates is to walk the plank. So a plank, what's that? Well, a plank is a long piece of wood, wide enough, just about, for you to walk along. So they used to get this long piece of wood, this plank, and they used to put it over the edge of the ship. And if you were ordered to walk the plank, you had to get up onto the plank, which was hanging over the edge of the ship, and walk along it and jump off into the sea.
With your hands tied behind your back.
With your hands tied, so you're not going to survive, are you? So obviously it was a form of execution. Very cheap form. You don't even need to use a bullet. You just get the person to jump off into the middle of the sea with the hands tied, and that was a way of executing people on a pirate ship.
And you'd go to a watery grave. A grave is where people are buried when they die, but if the grave is watery, from water, watery as an adjective, then obviously that's you're dying at sea, so it's a watery grave.
And if you did end up in the watery grave that Craig mentioned, you could say that you were in Davy Jones' locker. That's a very strange expression, isn't it? So a locker is a place where you keep things. And I don't know who Davy Jones was, but for pirates, Davy Jones' locker was a euphemism for saying dying and ending up at the bottom of the sea. So if you walked the plank, you might have ended up in Davy Jones' locker.
Now, if you're used to living on land and walking around on land, when you're on a ship, it's very different. The ship moves around a lot. The sea is not always calm. The ship or boat goes up and down and from side to side. And if you're moving around the ship comfortably, a pirate might say that you've got your sea legs. So your sea legs, that's when a pirate or a sailor can walk comfortably around a moving ship when it's sailing.
Our next expression is an interesting one. 3 sheets to the wind.
Sheets or shits?
Definitely sheets. So that's...
But not a sheet on your bed, though.
No, but the same spelling, S-H-E-E-T, 3 sheets to the wind, because those sheets could refer to the sails.
Yes.
The sails. So in the old days of pirates, there were no engines for the boat. They relied on the wind. So for the wind, you need the sheets of the sails. So the sails are the things which stick up through the top of the boat, which catch the wind. So 3 sheets to the wind is an expression which comes from sailing, and it's come to mean quite drunk. Now, I wonder why it's come to mean that. I wonder why it means quite drunk.
Maybe the sails are not tied down properly because you've had too much grog. So the sailors on deck, the pirates are not doing their jobs because they're drunk, and the sail is moving around a lot in the wind, perhaps. I'm just guessing.
That sounds like it could be right. Yeah.
Now, everything at sea is not always plain sailing. If something's plain sailing, the sea is very calm, there's a breeze or a wind, and it's really easy to sail and move along the sea. Sometimes the sea is rough, there's lots of wind, there might be a storm, and in that case, you need to batten down the hatches. To batten down the hatches. B-A-T-T-E-N, batten down, that means to close, to make firm, to close well, to close tightly. And the hatches, H-A-T-C-H-E-S, those are the open areas of a ship. Any area where water or rain might enter, you want to close those openings in a storm so that the boat doesn't sink. And this expression can also be used today as an idiom. If there's lots of danger in the air or there's a precarious situation, a dangerous situation, maybe you could say, I want to batten down the hatches. We should batten down the hatches. We should defend ourselves because there's danger around. So you tie everything down, you put stuff away because there's a storm coming. And you might hear that in a pirate movie, pirate film. Batten down the hatches, tie down the sails, close everything because a storm's coming.
Another expression, which has become an idiomatic expression in modern English, like batten down the hatches, is give no quarter. Quarters are where you sleep, where you stay. So if you're on a pirate ship and they don't give you any quarters, you've nowhere to sleep, you've nowhere to stay. So it has come to mean to show no mercy. Mercy is being kind to people, to show them compassion, to feel sorry for people. If you give no quarter, you show no mercy. That means you have no compassion.
Now, if one pirate ship attacks another pirate ship and there are survivors and you take prisoners, maybe you don't want the prisoners to tell other people what you've done and what's happened and the treasure you've stolen, etc. So you might kill the other pirates and leave no survivors behind, kill everyone. And there's an expression, dead men tell no tales, which means if you kill everybody, your secret is safe. Nobody will know what you've done because dead men tell no tales. So the pirates that you've captured from the other ship might have to walk the plank.
Earlier, I mentioned Davy Jones' locker. Not quite sure who Davy Jones was, but it's come to represent death at the bottom of the sea. Another name you'll need to know with piracy connections is Jolly Roger. Now, who was Roger originally? I don't know, but Jolly Roger is a flag. It's the skull and crossbones flag of pirates. Traditionally, the background would be black, and on that black background, a skull, the bones of a head, with crossbones, with two bones crossed diagonally with the head. And if you can visualize that, everybody knows that's the international flag that we associate with piracy. We call it the Jolly Roger.
They're flying the Jolly Roger. That would strike fear into the heart of any normal sailor. When you see pilots in films and on television, you sometimes see them with a parrot on their shoulder. You might...
Another pirate on their shoulder?
A parrot, a bird. P-A-R-R-O-T, a parrot, an exotic bird. And it's a very stereotypical, a very strong stereotype of a pirate with the eye patch and the three-cornered hat and maybe one leg because he lost a leg in battle, and a parrot on his shoulder. And a very common thing for the parrot to say is...
Who's a pretty boy then?
Who's a pretty boy then? Who's a pretty boy then? I don't know why they say that, but that's just a thing that pirate parrots say.
It's difficult to say that, isn't it? A pirate's parrot.
Yeah.
Parrot loro and pirate pirata. Yeah. Who's a pretty boy then?
So we hope this pirate vocabulary has been interesting and useful for you. You can see a list of all these words on the website. Go to inglespodcast.com/419 to see the list of vocabulary. And to finish, we've got some pirate quotes for you. We mentioned Long John Silver, the famous pirate from Treasure Island, but of course there have been others. Black Bart was a famous pirate. What was Black Bart's famous quote, or one of them?
He said, "In an honest service, there is thin commons, low wages, and hard labour."
Of course, pirates went against the law and they just like to steal money instead of working for it. So I'm guessing that in an honest service means in an honest job, an honest profession. There's thin commons, maybe thin reward or very little reward, very low wages, and hard labour or hard work. That makes sense. We have another quote from a female pirate called Mary Read. And now, according to research, she actually did exist, according to history. And what was her quote, Reza? Or one of her famous quotes?
"If there's a man among ye, you'll come up and fight like the man you're about to be."
And she was very well known for fighting like a man and pretty much behaving like a man, and a very, very serious and feared pirate, Mary Read. And when Reza said ye there, that means you in Old English speak. If there's a man among ye or you, ye'll come up, or you'll come up and fight like the man ye are or you are to be. So be a man, like Mary, and stand up and fight if you are really a man.
And the next quote, Craig, is from one of the most famous pirates of all, although we know as a fact that this character did not exist. It's the fictional character from Treasure Island, Long John Silver. What did he say?
He's quoted as saying, "You got the makings of greatness in you, but you got to take the helm and chart your own course." And I really like that. Now, the helm of a ship is where you steer the ship. You put the ship in one direction or another direction. So I understand that to be that you have potential. You can go very far. You look like you're going to be very successful, but you've got to decide where you're going, choose your path, and go in a direction that's going to be the best for you. I like that.
And still to this day, we use very often as a metaphor the expression "at the helm." So the person at the helm is the person in charge. The person directing, managing something is at the helm.
Johnny Depp made Jack Sparrow a very famous pirate in the Pirates of the Caribbean series. And this is our last quote. "The problem is not the problem," said Jack. "The problem is your attitude about the problem." And I really like that as well. What do you understand from that?
He's saying that this doesn't need to be a problem if we don't want it to be. You're making it a problem, but it's no big deal. Like, don't worry about it. We'll sort this out. To sort something out is to solve it. We'll solve this problem.
Yep, that's what I understand. Yeah, take it easy, be laid back like Jack Sparrow, and it's your attitude that's the important thing and not the problem itself. So who is your favourite pirate? Do you have one that maybe we haven't mentioned? We'd love to hear from you. Tell us what you think about this episode, or if you have an idea for a future podcast. How can people contact us, Reza?
The best thing to do to practice your English, we think, is to leave a voice message. You can do that through SpeakPipe. Just go to speakpipe.com/English podcast and you can leave an audio of up to 90 seconds.
Or you can reach us by email. Send your emails to me, Craig, at inglespodcast.com, or send an email to Reza at belfastreza, R-E-Z-A, at gmail.com.
We'd also recommend you to have a look at more material we've got online. Why don't you visit the Mansión Inglés online store? Go to store, that's S-T-O-R-E, store, which means shop, right? store.mansioningles.net, and there you'll find a variety of useful material to further help you with your English.
Before we go, we'd like to say thank you to everybody supporting this podcast on Patreon. You can do that by joining our Patreon program for as little as $1.20 per month, and that includes the VAT tax. By doing that, you get instant access, so recent transcriptions will be flying your way by email every week, and of course you can go back and look at previous transcriptions of our podcasts. Sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/Ingles podcast, and we'd love to have you on board.
And Craig, what's the minimum donation to be able to do that?
The minimum is $1.20, but of course the sky's the limit. If you want to go higher, we really do appreciate your support.
I wonder what $1.20 would be in doubloons or pieces of eight. Any idea?
No idea.
No idea. We don't know the answer to that.
But I'm pretty sure the pirates wouldn't be including the VAT.
Yeah. Well, the pirates will be nicking. Nicking is stealing. They'll be nicking the stuff for free, of course.
Of course, yeah.
That's what pirates do.
Especially when they're 3 sheets to the wind. Before we go, we want to thank our Patreon supporters who have joined us more recently. Who are they, Reza?
Our most recent supporters, but not all our supporters, only our most recent ones are Juan Lopez, Manuel Roman, Fabiola Clavero Fran Otero, Manme Diaz, Chema Lopez Bellido, Isabel M., and Luisa del Valle Arias. And a big thank you to Luisa for paying more than the minimum of $1.20. Not only would we like to thank those people, but as I've said, all our supporters, but we don't have time to mention all your names. Sorry about that. That's why we only include the most recent sponsors in every episode.
So we're off to have some lunch and batten down the hatches on this podcast. What's next week, Reza?
Next week's episode is about how to study English by yourself.
Yes, we're recording this in May 2022. We know that summer in the Northern Hemisphere is coming soon, so we think maybe you'd like some advice and tips on how to study English during the summer period. So join us next week for that. Thank you for listening this time. Until next week, it's goodbye from me.
And it's bye-bye from me.
The music in this podcast is by Bits. The track is called See You Later.